you might have missed. We had an excellent episode last time, and we're continuing with the V Jump promo cards. So we'll jump right in. So the first one we have here is a level 6 Dark Zombie Monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. During your main phase, you can send one zombie monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Pretty good. If this card becomes banished, you can banish one zombie monster from your graveyard and then special summon this card. But then place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. Ooh, that's not bad at all. And then the next card we have here, it's a level 8 Light Worm. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can special summon this card from your hand by banishing one level 8 or rank 8 monster from your graveyard. You can target one level rank 8 Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then apply this effect based on what type of monster it was. If it was a Ritual or a Fusion, draw one card. If it was a Synchro or Xyz card, this card gains 1000 attack. So looking at this Grunt, I think I like the zombie monster better. Just because during the main phase, you can send a zombie monster from the deck to the grave, and we know how much zombie decks revolve around using the graveyard. But I also like that if there's a way to banish it, there's also a way to have some sort of interaction where you special summon something. So, what do you think about these two cards? What do you like or what do you dislike?
I've seen people experimenting with the zombie, and I know some people are gonna be like, but it's just another unizombie. It pitches from hand or deck as one effect, but I mean that's just it. You can never get too much self milling slash pitching with zombies because they just love to hit the grave. And
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of generic ways to pitch this. You don't have to run it as a brick. I know it's level 6, and that might scare a few people at first, but it's pretty good. And the fact that it can become banished, there's a few other ways you can banish zombies for like paying costs. I know
Mm-hmm.
that the Shiranui have it, my Akashi, I'm pretty sure,
Yep.
have it.
Absolutely.
And you can banish another zombie to bring it back, and then again, you can pitch from the deck or hand, and there's just nothing wrong with it. The level 8, I don't know. It looked cool when they first revealed it, and then I saw the effect, and I'm just like, most
Yeah.
level 8 decks have enough extenders to where they don't need to banish themselves to, not make this a brick. And the
Mm-hmm.
effect is cool, but level 8 rituals and fusions, I mean, there's better ways to recur them, usually in archetype, than relying on this, which, again, I feel like it's just kind of a brick.
Yeah. I think it could work in some like casual decks, like a Blue Eyes deck from like 2016, 17. You could see people playing something like this because they use a lot of level 8 and rank 8s, and sometimes they do have the ritual monsters. But yeah, I agree. It's okay. It's nothing special.
Well, and that's just it, though. I would have agreed with you, but it's like you saw the new Blue Eye support last time, and it's
Yeah.
like they really, especially with Tyrant of D, they really don't need help anymore with
Mm-hmm.
extending. So again, this is cool. I mean, maybe it'll see use in the future, but eh, the deck that wants it doesn't really exist because there's too many level 8 extenders already out there in archetype for decks that want it.
Yeah, totally agree. Moving on now here, we've got the premium packs of 2022, and we've got Black Mamba. Okay, I always think of boxing legends when I hear that. But it's a level 3 dark reptile monster. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn as well. This if the first effect, if you control a reptile monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's really good. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one monster your opponent controls and send one reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, damage the targeted monster's battle position. Oh man, or change the targeted monster's battle position. Not bad. Then we have the next one here. It's a level 5 dark reptile. You can only use the first and second effect of this card, or no, I'm sorry, the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. You contribute one reptile monster and special summon this card from your hand. All monsters your opponent control lose 300 attack or defense. Ooh, that's nice because that's a permanent effect that looks like there. And then you contribute one monster, and all face up monsters your opponent currently control lose attack and defense equal to the tributed monster's original attack and defense until the end of this turn. Ooh, Grunt, this is some very interesting reptile support. What do you really like or dislike here?
I mean, Mamba is just a good generic extender. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even in decks that don't want to run reptiles, you could make a case for running King of the Feral Imps and searching this guy as a Garnet if you want to really extend your plays for some odd reason. I'm sure that there is some combo you could do. Pitching another reptile to switch positions, cool. I mean, Abyss like this. I'm pretty sure Aliens like this. So
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Mamba. Mamba's
Yeah,
a good
Mamba is
card.
solid. Absolutely.
Level 5 here, it's cool, but it kind of feels like it misses the mark. I mean, yes, you contribute any reptile to turn it into
Mm-hmm.
a 2K beater, but it just, has a small shrink effect while it's on the field. It's only when it's on the field, and 300 attack and defense doesn't really matter.
Well, if you
It,
tribute this card itself, because it says here you can use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. So think about that. All your face-up opponent's monsters losing 2,000 attack. That's not bad if you got to get over something that's kind of big. I mean
no, they
that's
only lose, they
interesting.
only, well, yeah, you contribute itself to make your opponent's monsters lose 2,000 attack. It's decent. I guess my point though is that it specifies reptile,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's too many reptile decks where it's like, oh yeah, no, I definitely need to shrink my opponent's monsters instead of just removing them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
think it's horrible.
I
Mamba's
think
good,
that's
but
a good point. I think this would be a side-in card. I would not put this in my main deck if I were playing some of the more recent reptile decks that have been out there recently. But if you're running into a deck that there's no way you can get over the hump, this is one option that you could have. So it's a very interesting one. But again, there could be better options out there depending on what kind of deck that it is you're facing. But I do think this might be a one of in the side deck. Would be my thinking.
I my argument is that if they ever make a random reptile deck that likes to create rank fives, sure, this is going to see use, but again, I think that it doesn't generate any advantage. You're
Yeah,
tributing
yeah.
your own monsters, you're getting a little attack shrinkage. Mamba can actually generate advantage by adding field presence
Oh
and
yes, yeah.
pitching. So again, I just feel like level 5 is so much more lacking in terms of what the level 3 does here.
And I completely agree with that. Without a doubt, Mamba's the better card. It's gonna be splashed into reptile decks for sure. And this other one here, Malice, is just so situational. Okay,
Hmm.
looking at the next one here, it's more reptile support. So we've got a level 4 dark. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one level 8 reptile monster from your deck to your hand. If this card becomes banished, you can target one reptile monster you control, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects until the end of this turn. And then we have a trap here that's a continuous. It's Viper's Grudge. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. Non reptile monsters you control cannot attack or activate their effects. Wow, that's interesting. If a face up reptile monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon one level 4 or lower reptile monster from your deck. And if this card in the spell and trap zone is destroyed, you can return all your banished reptile monsters to the graveyard. Ooh. Okay, so Grunt, I definitely see uses here for both cards. Which one do you like the best?
It depends on the situation. Viper's Grudge is cool
Mm-hmm.
because it essentially turns all of your reptiles into potential extenders. You're
Yep.
able to essentially, you turn them into a recruiter, which, that's not bad. There's plenty of generic reptiles that you could summon out and gain their effects off of. Lamia here is a good example of that. You can add a level 8 reptile, and there's plenty of decks right now that have level 8 reptiles like
Yep.
Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
We have a card I have posted next where this is kind of what it's supposed to be tied to, and
Oh,
even
okay.
Venoms, if you're playing Venoms for whatever reason, Phenomenon's now searchable. It's decent. I like this a lot more because sure it doesn't have any extending abilities, but it lets you search if it's normal or special summon. Viper's Grudge turns your stuff into recruiters. It's generically good. I don't think it's amazing
Mm-hmm.
compared to Mamba, but it's definitely better than Uroboros,
Yeah,
the
and
Avatar of Malice.
I gotta say, I love the art of Viper's Grudge. I think that looks just gorgeous. um, with Viper's Grudge, I do like that if any face-up reptile you control is destroyed by battle or sent to the grave, that's where you can get your advantage. So there's all
Even if
kinds
you
of
tribute something
combos.
too.
Yes, absolutely. This to me is the better of the two. I think that Lamia is good, but I like Viper's Grudge just a tad bit more for being able to generate advantage if you need to at any time. But both cards are definitely solid additions. And then looking at the next card that you have here, Evil Dragon, that's a level 8. It cannot be normal summoned or set, but must be special summoned by banishing all reptile monsters you control into your graveyard. This card's attack and defense becomes the number of monsters banished for its special summon times 600. Once per turn during your end phase, target one card on the field and destroy that target. Now, this is interesting. Now, I see what you're saying, Grunt. If you had to banish everything, and then you play the third effect here, because it says if this card is destroyed, you could destroy it yourself and then return all those banished reptiles you did just to get this card out. That is really interesting to
Yeah,
use
and
with the
you'll
trap.
banish. And yeah, you banish Lamia, and Lamia makes it so this can't be targeted by card effects
Yeah,
or destroyed by card effects, which and again, sometimes you'll summon a Nanta, you won't have anything else to pop, and potentially you might be forced to pop it yourself, but no, it can be protected, so it's neat. Ananta's
yeah.
always been an interesting card. He's been out for quite a while, and I'm pretty sure he appeared in a manga with these other cards here in a generic reptile deck, but they never imported the other ones for some reason because they
Oh,
probably
okay.
didn't have the effects like this. But you can tell the synergy is meant to be with Ananta.
Oh,
But again,
without a
it
doubt.
definitely has generic application.
And it's nice to see them trying to get this card used. And we talked about this in our last podcast. It's nice to see Konami making sure that other cards are seeing some use. And so
Hmm.
the more they do that, the more I'm a fan of the company. Okay, so moving on here, we've got some more zombie cards to look at. Oh wow, boy, the art here. But anyway, so we've got Ghost Sleeper, the Underworld Sleeping Beauty. It's a level 3 dark zombie. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Ghost Fusion from your deck to your hand. I'm not familiar with that card. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and discard one card. Then target one of your banished level 4 or higher zombie monsters, and you get to add it to your hand. And then we have Ghost Lancer, the Underworld Spearman, and it's a level 5 dark zombie. If only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Already love that effect. It cannot be destroyed by battle except with a monster special summoned from the extra deck. Good to know. And if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. Ooh, that's a nice little budget card. I definitely like that. Um, Grunt, it looks like to me that Ghost Sleeper would be the stronger of the two here. What's your thoughts?
I mean, Ghost Lancer is literally just a zombie by type. It's essentially a cyber dragon that can't be destroyed by battle, but
Right.
has piercing. It doesn't have anything to do with the graveyard or the zombies, and this support right here is supposed to be from a 5Ds manga, which again, we have a few cards
Oh,
from the 5Ds manga that were printed years ago, and they're finally printing some of the other zombie support to go with it. Ghost Sleeper is definitely good. I mean, we'll get to Ghost Fusion in the next slide, but the fact that you can banish her and return any of your banished for hire zombies to your hand. Sure, you're discarding, but there
Mm-hmm.
are some good examples of why you might want to do that.
Absolutely.
It's got some use. Even if you just want a pitcher for Ghost Fusion, you can. And Ghost Fusion, in my opinion, has some arguments for being better as the game goes on. But
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
for now, Ghost Fusion, in my opinion, is not good right now. It only has a few good targets, but it'll probably have its uses in the future if they create more zombie fusion archetypes.
Well, let's take a look at that. And before we do move on, though, Ghost Lancer is also nice. Just to have another body out easily to go into like Vampire Sucker or something. There's some good application with both cards here. So, looking at Ghost Fusion, it's a normal spell. Oh wow, the art just looks amazing on these cards. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. And the first effect here, and the only effect is Fusion Summon one Fusion Summon monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material. Only zombie monsters can be used as fusion material for this effect. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can also banish one zombie monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard as the material. And then we have Ghost Wyvern, the Underworld Dragon. It's a level 4 dark zombie. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Ghost Fusion from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if this card was banished this turn, you take one level 2 or lower zombie tuner from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And I see the synergy here. So the fusion has a chance to banish, which would then lead to you getting the advantage here of adding a level 2 or lower tuner from the deck. But Grunt, how practical is this fusion card right now?
I this is kind of what I was saying. I don't think it's very practical because a lot of monsters that use zombies as a material already have better ways to get them out. Like Eldritch, for example, would
Mm-hmm.
rather use their in archetype fusion spell if they really wanted to go into their fusion. Most zombie fusions, I think of like vanilla fusions from the olden days, and then we've got maybe a handful of zombie fusions that people still aren't really playing. So it's cool, and I'm glad that they brought this out because it'll have generic applications in the future. And maybe you can make a little engine with this because technically you can probably banish or send, any zombies you want for generic fusion summoning, but it's it's cool at best right now. It's not really doing anything. I think Ghost Wyvern's kind of nice because level 2 or lower zombie tuner. I mean, we all know there's some pretty good level 2 zombie
Oh,
tuners, so
absolutely. But level 2 or lower. Yeah. So
or
I'm
lower,
thinking
yeah.
of the bulb one. I think that's what it is, where you banish it in Doom King specials, and yeah, there's some good stuff there. Yes, without a doubt. But
Yeah,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Grant.
I was gonna say real quick that obviously I was thinking more about the Plague Spreader line, but
Oh yeah, Plague Spreader.
that's
Yep.
just it.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Yeah.
some good zombie tuners to access with this. Again, I think Ghost Sleeper's decent. I think Wyvern's decent. Lancer, wish he had some more zombie applications aside from being a extender, but it is what it is. I think the spell's neat. Again, there's just not that much you can summon with it right now.
Yeah. Nope. Makes sense. Okay, so here are some of the targets that I think you were looking at: the dragon, or the Drago Necro Nether Soul Dragon, which requires two zombies. I've seen a lot of people use this as an instant fusion target, especially if
Instant
you've got
fusion.
Super Poly.
Oh,
Or I
Super
mean, not
Poly,
instant
yeah.
fusion, Super Poly. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, it was Zombie
Um,
World.
yeah, but I've seen that an awful lot. I haven't really seen this card very often. This one that's a synchro monster. Why did you include this one?
I included this one because they're literally both from the same deck in the manga that played Ghost Fusion. He would
Oh,
literally
okay.
summon Dragon Necro, and then he would use it as a synchro material with a tuner, and he would make this. I've just put it here for whatever reason.
Okay. Yeah, it looks interesting though, that's for sure. Reminds me of like old video game characters you would see in like Ghosts and Ghouls. It's an old Capcom game from the 90s, but pretty interesting for sure. Okay, so now, boy, the zombie support just continues here. And notice, here's the level 2. So we've got Mad Murderer. It's a level 2 Dark Zombie Tuner. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. This card's name becomes Plague Spreader Zombie while face up on the field or in the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 6 or higher monster you control, decrease its level by 2, and if you do, special summon this card. But you cannot special summon monsters while it's face up in the monster zone, except for zombie monsters, which is not an issue at all. And then we have Al Ghul Mazira. It's a level 8 Earth zombie. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. If a zombie, a monster, or monsters that you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your hand or your graveyard instead. If this card becomes banished from your hand or graveyard, you can special summon it in defense, and then you can decrease its level by 1. Ooh, that is pretty solid here. Okay.
Protector, that's also an extender.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, because think about that. If, let's say, you're in the battle phase, right? And you decide you want to save your monster, and this is on your turn. You special this guy out, and then in main phase 2, you start to go to work. I mean, this is an absolute fantastic card for zombie decks. What do you think about Mad Murderer?
I mean, it's kind of like a. I hate to say that it's kind of like Level Eater, because Level Eater was a non tuner, but I mean, it's got kind of the same idea as Level Eater, where you're converting levels, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Descrudo as well.
Yeah,
But they also
yeah,
made it where you lock into zombies, which literally that's just to make sure you're not using it with Halka Fibrax. That's about it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to be using this in a zombie deck anyways, and I mean, with Al Ghul Mazera here, if you're summoning him and he's a 7, you can literally turn 2 and 5 after you modify the level into a level 7
Yeah,
zombie synchro, like the
yeah.
Red Eyes,
Yep, the Red Eyes one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Red Eyes Necro Dragon or whatever it's called. And again, this works with other cards too. You could use this with your other synchros that you're summoning in the deck. You could use this with Bauer Drock if you wanted to make a level 8 synchro, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get Bauer Drock back next turn anyway, so there's generic applications, and again, the nice thing about these two is that yes, they're hard once per turns, but they don't banish themselves. They don't return themselves to the deck. So your Misera gets destroyed. It's live next turn to protect you, and Mad Murder is live to modulate and return again to the field. So
Yeah, yeah.
they're both very good extenders.
Absolutely. And I love the art here of Al Ghul. Oh man, I think it just looks absolutely terrific. The way that this looks would have made it maybe a hair better for me is instead of being Earth, being dark. I think that's the only thing I would have changed here, but a fantastic card regardless. The next one we've got here, we've got Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. It's a level 10 Dark Zombie Synchro monster. It takes one zombie tuner specifically, plus 1+ non-tuner monsters. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one zombie monster in your graveyard, except for Red Eye's Zombie Dragon Lord, and special summon it. Ooh, that's interesting. That's extremely interesting. Okay. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one zombie monster you control and then special summon this card. And then we have Corpse Dragon Lord Felgrand. It's a level 8 light zombie synchro. It takes again one zombie tuner plus 1+ non-tuner monsters. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. Ooh, boy, that's really good because that could happen on either turn. If a monster or monsters is special summoned from the graveyard while this monster is face up on the field, you can target one face up monster in the field except this card and negate its effects until the end of this turn. Oh, wow. Okay, so Grunt, I really like Lord Felgrand here. I think he looks absolutely fantastic. What where do you see this being used? What I know it's going to be used in a zombie deck, but what would you have to do to get this guy out?
Again, I think it just depends on what your setup is. So again, most generic decks, especially zombie world decks that are gonna love using these, you're gonna have Ballard's Rock. So for Corpse Dragon Lord Felgrand, you could literally just use Mad Murder on Ballard's Rock, turn them into Lord Felgrand, get a banish, and then when Ballard's Rock comes back next turn, have a negate.
Oh,
Otherwise,
mm-hmm.
if you have Owl Ghul Mazera, you could use him with Mad Murder, and then
Yeah.
you can use the 2 and the 8 if you have a Ballard's Rock as well to make Zombie Dragon Lord, which again, Zombie Dragon Lord can literally just bring back another zombie during your turn anyways, or your opponent's turn. So they're both good at extending, adding
Mm-hmm.
options. The fact that Dragon Lord is level 10 synchro that can literally just come back any turn by turning any zombie into a Mizuki.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's pretty useful. And as we saw with the V Jump promo way back, it wants to be banished. So you now have a generic reason to pitch it to run the level 6, because it'll bring itself out. So you've got plenty of good extending options with all of this, and we're not even done with the support yet.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. Now we've got the Immortal Dragon, which is a level 6 Dark Zombie Synchro, and it's a tuner, everybody. Oh boy. Okay, so you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. During your main phase, you can send one zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, this card's level becomes the difference between the original level and the sent monster's level. Oh, wow. So good. And then when your zombie monster is destroyed by battle while this card is in your graveyard, or when a zombie monster is destroyed while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card, but then you have to banish it when it leaves the field. And it's nice because it's got a 2400 booty. That's not bad at all. And then we have Zombie Reborn, a normal spell. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn, and only once that turn. Target one zombie monster that's in either graveyard. Banish one monster with the same name from your deck or extra deck. And if you do, special summon the targeted monster. Oh, that's interesting. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one of your banished zombie monsters into the deck. And if you do, set this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Ooh, interesting, Grunt. Okay, what do you like or dislike here?
Uh, Immortal Dragon is literally a synchro tuner that's kind of like a different form of Unizombie. Instead of increasing levels, it modifies its own level, which, you can look at this either way. You can either set up cards like Ballard's Rock, turn this into a level 2 tuner, and, keep going to synchro plays. You can pitch off something like Glow Up Bloom if you haven't yet, or your
Yeah.
Necro World
Mm-hmm.
Banshee. Necro World Banshee obviously sets up Zombie World, which lets you set up Ballard's Rock, and again, this is literally just another generic pitch that can modify its level, giving you a whole, host of things that you can synchro summon. And the last effect, it's cute. I don't really see, your opponent destroying your zombie in battle and then you summon him,
Mm-hmm.
but
It's
it can come up.
situational.
The
Yeah.
fact that it's there is there. It's nice. And Zombie Reborn, it's more restricted than Monster Reborn, but at the same time, I mean, it's good in the mirror match.
That's what I
It's
was just thinking. If you're playing a mirror, you want this in there without a doubt.
well, and even if you're, and even then, it's like you're running certain cards in your deck. It's like you're going to be running multiples of certain zombies, and there's more than enough ways to get stuff out of the banished zone now in zombie decks, as we've seen. So, I'd say that it's even good outside of that. It's not really bad in any means, but
Mm-hmm.
eh.
No, I agree. It's very useful, and like I said, in the mirror match, I would have it ready. I mean, this is definitely something I would have.
My
Ma-
only argument is that Book of Life has existed for the longest
oh
time, and I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
that this is recurable, unlike Book of Life, but it has more restrictions than Book of Life, so I'm
right.
not really sure if it's going to see that much play.
Well, that was the first thing I thought was Book of Life. I thought that looks definitely similar when I'm looking at it. Okay, so the next one here we've got Haunted Zombie. It's a normal trap. You can only use the first and second, or one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. So you definitely have to make a decision here. So you can banish one zombie monster that has a level from either graveyard, and if you do, you can special summon two haunted tokens that have zero attack and defense with the same level as that monster. Oh, that's pretty good. Because if you banish one zombie that has like a level 8, and all of a sudden you've got two level 8s out, that's not bad. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one of your banished zombie monsters into the deck. And if you do, set this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Ooh, man, Grunt, that seems pretty useful. What do you think?
My only issue is that it's a trap. It's
Yeah, it's
like
slower.
like if this were a spell, it would be a decent extender that gives you banishing options. Didn't even have to be quick play, just a spell in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's got its uses. It's just that you're literally gonna sit on this, and you're either gonna, wait until the end of your opponent's turn or until they've done all their attacks, and it's got its applications. It's just that it's not searchable by any means, and it's not really something I'd want clogging up my hand if I don't need it. Because
Yeah,
the zombie
yeah.
decks, as we've seen, have plenty of extenders already for their synchro plays. If they didn't, I'd support running this, but I don't, I just
Yeah.
don't think it's necessary with all the extenders they have right now.
No, that makes sense to me. I'm in my thinking is always from the budget side of things. So as a budget player, because some of the zombie stuff is so expensive now, I could see myself, especially for decks that I make for students, this could be something they would enjoy because it's a very easy way for them to get some powerful tokens out that would have some, well, that would be a great level that they could exceed summon with. So I think there are some uses, especially from more of a casual standpoint. But like you said, if you're playing competitively, this is too slow. You definitely have to have something that runs faster for sure. Okay, moving on now, we've got the Premium Pack 2022 again. So we've got numbers Avil. Is that right? It's a normal spell. If
Yes, I
only
believe so.
Okay, so if only your opponent controls a monster special summoned from the extra deck, choose four number Xyz monsters with different ranks in your extra deck. Add the numbers and all their names together, and special summon one number Xyz monster from your extra deck with a number in its name equal to the results. And if you do, attach all the chosen monsters to it as a material, but you cannot special summon monsters while you control it except for number exceeds monsters. Then we have reincarnation of the seven emperors. It's a normal trap. If your exceeds monster that is a number monster with a number between 101 and 107 in its name or has such a monster as a material battles during damage calculation, banish it and any materials attached to it. Also, during the end phase of the turn you activated this card, you can special summon one rank 3 or lower Xyz monster from your extra deck, except a number monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Ooh, this is very interesting. Okay, so Grunt, let's talk about the normal spell first. What uses do you see with this?
So this is one of those cards where somebody has created an entire what is it? They've created an entire spreadsheet of cards that you can summon using different numbers and ranks. So that's kind of the thing. It not only do they have to have different ranks, they have to be numbers, and then you're adding the numbers in their names. So if I'm using numbers 1, 6, 9, and 10, I could only use them to summon number 26,
Uh huh.
which is kind of a weird anime-esque effect. I don't think I've seen people doing any busted stuff with it just because of the restrictions it has, but
Mm hmm.
there's some fun things. You can summon a Tri-Head Dust Dragon with 4 materials and detach 4 materials to claw like 4 of your opponent's monster zones.
Oh, I
Which
absolutely love that idea. Oh,
like
wow.
I'm not like it's not crazy, but it's there.
Uh-huh.
You can like essentially any of the numbers that are up there in the double digits. It's a lot easier to summon them. A lot of the numbers in the single digits, not so much. The best use I see for this in the future, if we get them, is because they've been printing the fake numbers. We've gotten Stealth Kragan and Cicada King now, which are both not supposed to technically be numbers, but they are.
Okay.
So if we get the fake numbers 1 and 2, one is a rank 8, two is a rank 2, we could use the rank 8 number 1, the rank 1 number 2, the Numeron Gate,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
rank 2 number 2, and one of the number 3s, and you could make oh no, I'm getting it. Point is, with the right combination with the fake numbers, you could make number 7 Lucky Straight with 4 materials,
Oh,
which
wow.
if you
Yeah.
look at what Lucky Straight does, he used to be abused in Dragon Ruler
Oh,
format just because
yes.
he wasn't
Yeah.
a once per turn.
Yeah, and that's a good card. It doesn't have very many printings either. So yeah, a very good card for sure. And I think this has potential eventually to be broken, depending on what people do with the math. So it's going to be very interesting, but it is a game-changing card potentially, depending on the
It's
combinations people come up
it's
with.
gimmicky, but again, we're still waiting on the fake numbers. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
at this point, now that we have Stealth Kragan and Cicada King, that they're gonna probably give us what was its name? Buzz Mosquito and then
Mm-hmm.
Infection King Buzz or
Well,
something
do you
like
think
that.
there'll be more fake numbers with a card like this being printed? Do you,
Oh no, no. The only
no?
reason why
Okay,
we're getting
okay.
the only reason why we're getting these fake numbers is because they were literally part of the anime before we saw the actual Numeron gates. So we
Mm-hmm.
saw the fake numbers before the real numbers, which again, they were all just Numeron gates. If I look at number 1, for example, Infection Buzz King, he's a rank 8, 3 level 8 monsters,
Yeah,
typical anime number stuff. His effect is you can choose a card in your opponent's extra deck, send it to the graveyard. You can attach a number from your opponent's graveyard to it as material. Detach a material once per turn to target a card your opponent controls, destroy it, and if it was a monster, burn them
yeah.
for their attack. And then number 2 is more situational. Something about using toke or counters and making your opponent's monsters lose all their attack.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's neat stuff. I'm waiting to see if they adapt these. In my opinion, Kragan and Cicada King was better than Ninja Mosquito, as it's called. So,
Yeah.
eh. The point is, we get these fake numbers. We'll have new ranks outside of the rank 1 Numeron gates, and you're open to using a few more cards like number 7, which, again, it's gimmicky, but it'll be fun to try and pull it off.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely interesting things to consider with the cards, but I do like what we see here. Let's go ahead and move on now to the next one. So we've got two normal traps here. The first is Rebirth of the Seven Emperors, and tribute all Xyz monsters and then target one of your banished Xyz monsters. Special summon it, and then you can attach number Xyz monsters with numbers between 101 and 107 in their names that are banished and or in your graveyard up to the number of tributed plus 1 to it as a material. During the end phase of the turn you activated this card, each player takes 300 damage for each card that's in their hand. And then we have Xyz Bento. If a monster or monsters your opponent controls is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, target one Xyz monsters you control, attach one monster from your opponent's graveyard to it as a material, and then 2, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster special summon from the extra deck and change its battle position. Okay, so it seems like there's a big push here, Grunt, to be using cards that are between 101 and 107. Why is that? Why do you think the push is for?
That's because in the Zexal anime, numbers 1 through 100, not including the fake numbers, were all part of Astral's memory, or I think it was 1 through 99.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Point
right.
is, those were separate from 101 and 1 through 107, which were the Barian numbers. They were not specifically tied to Astral. They were tied to these antagonists in the last season of Zexal, and
Okay.
the idea was that 101 and 107 were kind of like their own sub archetype of numbers. They've got their own list of support. Like the seventh one, that one rank up spell that works with them.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
they've always kind of had this theme around them. So we didn't talk about the trap in the last slide. I mean,
Oh, sorry. Yes, so did you want to talk about the Seven Emperors? Go ahead.
yeah, so it's literally just an anime reference. I was just gonna say that real quick. It's just another anime reference. Your number gets destroyed. You're summoning some random rank 3 or lower Xyz monster that's not a number, and you burn it. It's cute. I mean, the fact that it's not a number means, unfortunately, you're not burning your opponent for 3,000 life points with Acid Golem. But
Yeah.
it's it's niche. It's just kind of going with the shark support that we're getting in the next legendary duelist set. Rebirth of the Seven Emperors, I'm pretty sure, is supposed to work with this card called Chaos Exceeds Bury in Hope, which I think we talked about that briefly
Yeah. Uh, not this
before.
last one, but the one before, I believe.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was, and I think Carlos was with us at that point. He was kind of
Yes.
talking about how he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really caring about it. I think that's just it. A lot of these cards are pushing for you to run Bury in Hope to make it more accessible, to make it attach more materials, and it's cool. I mean, it's a neat little trap. Again, these are all, I'm pretty sure, anime references. Bento is situational at best. It's a trap that requires your opponent's monster to be destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard just to give you an extra material. Some cards would like that. Other cards don't care about that. So if you want to run Bento, you can. I'm pretty sure it is searchable since it has Xyz in the name, but there's better cards to give you free
Oh,
materials
yeah.
than that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Right now, they don't seem the best, based on what I'm seeing. Okay, so now we've got some Witchcrafter, looks like support that's coming out. So this is a level 8 Dark Spellcaster, and it's a fusion monster. The summoning requirements are 1 Witchcrafter monster plus 1 Spellcaster monster. When a non-fusion spellcaster's monster effect or a spell card or an effect is activated, quick effect, you can activate one of these effects. You can only choose each of these effects of Witchcraft or Vice Master once per turn. You can destroy one card that's on the field. You can special summon one level 6 or lower Witchcrafter monster from your hand or deck. Or you can add one Witchcrafter spell trap from your graveyard to your hand. And then we have Witchcrafter Confusion. It's a normal spell. You can only use the one of the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name once per turn, and only once that turn. First one, fusion summon one fusion a monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as the fusion material, including at least one Witchcrafter monster. And then 2, during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard and you control a Witchcrafter monster, you can add this card to your hand. Ooh, that that doesn't seem too bad there, Grunt. Especially that you're going to fuse with it, and then on the end phase, more than likely, you're still going to have a Witchcrafter monster, and then you get to add this back to the hand. And then the level 8 fusion monster seems to have some pretty good abilities here. Popping a card, getting a special summon out, or adding a spell or trap. What are your thoughts?
So the only reason why somebody would run Confusion is because, one, it's searchable in archetype, and of
Mm-hmm.
course it has the generic Witchcrafter effect to recur itself to the hand. You're literally going to fusion summon Vice Master once because there's plenty of ways to bring it out after it's properly summoned,
Okay.
and Confusion will just keep being used as fuel for the other Witchcrafters' effects because they have to pitch spell
That's what I was
traps
just
to
thinking. Yes. The
use their
pitching.
effects.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Vice Master's effects are pretty good. I mean, again, it just destroys one card in the field. I think that's non-targeting removal.
Yes, it is non-targeting. It just destroy one card on the
I,
field.
I
It,
can never tell with how people translate stuff.
yeah,
Sometimes they
it
translate it
if it
wrong,
doesn't
but
say
probably is
target,
non-targeting.
then you are technically okay if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of like
So,
creature swap, where you choose one monster, they choose one. There's no targeting involved. So,
summoning an extra witchcrafter. I mean, what's there to say? It's extra field advantage, and adding a witchcrafter spell trap from your graveyard to your hand kind of cheats it out because the one annoying thing about witchcrafters has always been that for balance purposes, obviously, you could never recur the spell back to your hand the same turn you activated its first effect.
yeah,
So you could either use it as fuel or you could use its actual effect. So the fact that this can bypass that is pretty nice. You can now use, some of your more important spell effects and add it back to your hand to use it as fuel next turn before recovering it. So
yeah, it's
it's good.
useful. Yeah, I mean,
A lot of
it's really
a lot of
useful.
people a lot of people were caught off guard because they're like, this deck never had any implications of getting a fusion. But I mean, for all for all intents and purposes, it gets the job done.
Absolutely. And like you had said, for the pitch effects of the Witchcrafters, knowing that you have a reoccurring card coming back to the hand, that's just amazing. I think the normal spell here is absolutely fantastic. Okay, moving on. Now we're back to Dimension Force, and I like how you put this. Not the
Had
hero
to.
support we deserve, but the heroic support we needed. So, Heroic Challenger Knuckle Knife. It's a level 1 Earth Warrior monster. I like the art. The art of these cards do look pretty neat. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. If you control a heroic monster except a level 1 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Oh, that's easy. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one warrior monster that you control. The level of that monster or this card becomes the level of the other, but you cannot declare attacks for the rest of this turn except with Xyz monsters. And for those of you who don't know, heroics are all about their Xyz monsters.
Yes, they are.
Then you have Heroic Challenger Morning Star. It's a level 4 Earth Warrior. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If you control 2 or more warrior monsters, you can special summon this card from the hand. Oh, that's really good. If this card is normal or specialed, you can add one heroic spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And then, if this card is in your graveyard and you have 500 life points or less, you can special summon this card, but its effects are negated. So, boy, Grunt, some really good stuff here. It is very easy, I feel, to get two warriors out on the field. I'm thinking of that level 4 2100 attack monster. It's special summons. It used to be used in ABC all the time because it was a light monster. Then you normal summon a warrior, and then you could easily then use this. I mean, this seems super easy to special. And then the fact that you get a heroic spell or trap from your deck to your hand, wow, heroic challenger just looks terrific to me. What are you thinking here?
So Knuckle Knife is probably my favorite of the two, just
Uh huh.
because the issue is if you ever open one Challenger and Knuckle Knife, you're guaranteed to have an Xyz. You open
Yeah.
one Challenger and Morningstar, Morningstar might be your go-to because it searches, but otherwise you're not going to always get two monsters on the field if you don't have the right hand.
Oh yeah, you would have to have the right hand, absolutely.
And to
But
give you
don't you think there's
guys...
tons of warriors that like even that one card, oh gosh, where the guy's in the plane and you normal summon it and then it goes to defense and you can special summon another level 4 from your hand. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like there's lots of different cards like that in warrior decks. Um but anyways, go ahead.
So the only reason, my only issue with Morningstar, and this isn't even Morningstar's fault, I think that Konami needs to really reevaluate this archetype and give it some more spell and trap support because Heroics right now, even including their newest support card, only have 5 spell traps. That's it. So
Oh, wow.
so we've got I'll name them off real quick. We've got Heroic Chance, which doubles a heroic monster's attack, but it can't attack directly. Um, but it's not until the end of the turn, so your heroic keeps that. It just can't attack directly. We'll talk about the new spell in a second. And then the 3 traps they have: Heroic Advance. When a heroic monster you control is destroyed, you can target another heroic you control that's level 4 or lower and double its attack during the battle phase. And then you change the attack target to it. It's essentially, it kind of redirects attacks. It's not really something you'd want to telegraph. Retribution Sword, all it does is make your opponent take battle damage you would take from it instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh
it
my.
doesn't give it any protection. And then
Sounds
Heroic
awful.
Gift, we don't talk about Heroic Gift. If your opponent's life points are, because here's what Heroic Gift does.
The 8,000, right?
If your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less, make their life points 8,000, and you
Yes.
do draw 2 cards.
It's terrible. Absolutely
Just
terrible.
just play Reckless Greed if you want a trap that draws you 2. Don't give your opponent a reset button. It's
Absolutely not, unless you're positive you have the OTK.
So literally, anytime you summon Morningstar, which again, I am praying that Konami gives these guys more support because I like the direction they're finally taking them in. I hope that they give them more spell traps. We'll go over that spell in a bit, but we have some new Xyz. At least they gave them new Xyz. I'm glad that we have more Xyz now.
Well, let's take a look at that then. So we've got Heroic Champion Salias. It's a rank 4 light warrior Xyz monster, and it just requires 2 level 4 warrior monsters. You can use the second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is monsters your opponent control cannot target other monsters for attack. Second, you can pay life points so that you only have 500 left. At the start of the battle phase this turn, the attack of one of your face-up monsters you control becomes doubled. When an attack is declared involving an opponent's monster, you can detach one material from this card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and this card gains attack equal to that monster's until the end of the turn. I think I like the third effect maybe better. I'm not sure that's the strongest. Okay, so I'll go over the next one here. Yeah, so the next one is a rank 1 Xyz monster. Very interesting, requiring 2 level 1 warrior monsters. You can only use the second and third effects of this card's name each once per turn. And it says here, 1, the first time each warrior you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. Second effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, then target 1 level rank 4 warrior monster in your graveyard. Special summon it, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack. When an attack is declared involving an opponent's monster, you can gain life points equal to half its attack. Okay, boy, Grunt, these seem very lackluster to me. Help change my mind.
You think they're lackluster? I think that they're fine for the deck. I mean, so to give Soleil here the benefit of the doubt, this guy can easily punch holes through your opponent. He kind of has that Utopia mentality of doubling his attack, and I know what you're thinking. Oh no, your life points are less than 500.
Yes.
Well, I get it. I get it. If you're going against the burn deck, this is horrible.
Yes.
But not too many people outside of burn decks play burn cards, and there are ways to easily OTK with this guy. You can double his attack to 5,000, and then assuming you had Morningstar, you can. And this is kind of why I talked about heroic chance. Heroic chance, you can double its attack again, so you can turn
so then
him.
It's at 10,000. Yeah.
You can turn him into a 10k beater, detach a material, your opponent's monster essentially becomes 0 attack, and you OTK. It's not awesome. I'm just saying that give this guy some credit. The support in the deck does lend credence to him. The rank 1, I mean, the rank 1's not horrible. In fact, he gives the deck a lot of the things that they needed. First things first, if you're running the Retribution Sword, like I was talking about, the fact that your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect each turn at least once it's not, the first time a warrior, the first time each warrior. So as long as he stays face up on the field, all your warriors have essentially a free, immunity for a turn, and that resets each turn. The fact that you can target any of your rank fours to bring them back, and then he gains attack equal to the original attack. I mean, you bring back Soleil here, he becomes a 3k beater
Mm-hmm.
that keeps that first effect, and then when an attack is declared involving an opponent's monster, that doesn't even have to be your monster, right? Like, it doesn't have to be them attacking. You can do this during your turn too. It's, again, this archetype is still very lacking just because there's
Yes.
not a huge amount of support. But give Konami credit for the 5 cards that they gave this deck in Dimension Force. They, in my opinion, brought life back into it. It's not going to be crazy good right now, but if they,
Oof.
keep giving it support
Yeah,
here
they'd
and
have to
there,
do more here for me.
I
The
think they'll do more
Xyz
eventually.
monsters
They
are
have to.
okay. They're okay to me. But I do think that the monsters we looked at previously, those look much better to me.
But
Um,
that's just it. They enable these. You literally summon Knuckle Knife, and Knuckle Knife turns him and another heroic into these guys,
yeah,
into Excalibur, and it doesn't even have to be for a heroic. You could literally turn them into rank fours and go for a Utopia
yeah.
play if you
That
really want to play Utopia and heroic. The point is, again, it's the deck needed this. It's not gonna save the deck, but it gives it a much better chance at improving from here.
okay. And then the last part we have here is heroic. And is that envoy?
Envoy.
Envoy. Thank you. You can use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. Add one heroic monster from your deck to your hand. That's fantastic. And then if you have 500 life points or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one heroic card in your graveyard and you get to add it to your hand. Okay, so I do see some synergy there, but I like the first effect much more than I do the second effects. What do you think?
Second effect is there. That's kind of the thing, is that you're gonna be able to use this essentially as a free an archetypal Rhoda, which that's
Mm-hmm.
good. It's
Yes,
and that's the
yes.
thing. This deck will run Rhoda, and you can run your own archetypal Rhoda as well, which is good.
Yes, it is. Completely agree.
And yes, the 500 or less, I get it. It's kind of an annoying gimmick, but if you're not summoning Excalibur, Soleil is going to be your go-to rank 4. And the fact that you can pay your life points, so you get 500 to enable this to add another heroic card to your hand, it's there. And then you summon the rank 1, through one way or another, and suddenly you can get your life points back up. It's not flawless, but it's there. And don't forget that if you have both the rank 4 and the rank 1, your opponent will be forced, yeah. So, and here's the other thing too. You pay life points, like if you want to go back to read Soleil, at the
Mm-hmm.
start of the battle phase this turn, the attack of one face-up monster you control becomes doubled. This is not temporary, this is permanent. Soleil will become a 5,000 attack monster that cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects once per turn, and he can be the only attack target. I'm not saying this is broken, but again, give the deck some credit. It does have some neat utility that other cards don't get since it's permanent attack modulation.
Right. No, no, and that makes sense. It's just it needs way more, I feel, to really
Oh,
do what they want it
100%.
to do. So, but some of these cards, especially the monsters and the spell, they're a definite step in the right direction, and that's good for sure.
It
Um,
takes more than 5 cards to save an old Zexal
oh,
archetype, but I think this
absolutely.
is a good start.
Absolutely. Definitely will take more. So now we've got some pendulum support, which I'm very excited with all this pendulum support that's going on. So Symphonic Warriors Guitarist is our first one. It's a level 3 wind machine. It's also a tuner. You can only use this card's name's pendulum effect once per turn. You can target one other. Is it Symphonic? Am I saying that right?
Symphonic, yes,
Okay.
like symphony.
Okay. You can target one other symphonic warrior you control and return it to the hand and this card to your hand. Monster effect. Oh, that's good for a pendulum effect. That I like
Yeah,
that quite a bit actually.
you set the scales and then you can return them. So I'll
Yeah.
explain this real quick before we go into DJs here, because DJs kind of exemplifies this. So Symphonic Warrior pendulums have great pendulum effects, but they also have great effects if they're
If they're
summoned.
summoned, yes.
And there's ways to extend past pendulum summoning for them. So you can literally, with this guy, set up a zero scale, pen summon, and then return both of them to the hand to either extend with them or save
Yeah.
them for next turn instead of them getting popped because they
Yes.
have no
Oh,
reason to stay out.
I like this quite a bit, that pendulum effect. That's just so useful. And there is a card, I can't remember which one it is. I'm pretty sure that gives you another normal. So,
Mites.
yes, so that this is very good support. The monster effect, you can only use this card's name one and two monster effects once per turn each. If Symph Amphife is in your field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Oh, wow. And then if this card is normal or special, you can target one card in your pendulum zone and return it to the hand. So right away, let's say you have that in your field zone, what you want. You return the scales, you get the special, and then if you have the additional normal, you can go with the other card and, like you said, just keep extending. That's a really good support card for that deck.
Hmm.
Let's look at DJs now. It's a level 4. You can only use this card's second pendulum effect once per turn. Once per turn, you can change one of your face down defense position Symphonic Warriors monsters to face up defense position. And then, two, if a Symphonic Warriors monster effect is activated, you can special summon this card from your pendulum zone. Oh, that's good too. Wow, that's so easy to get out. The monster effect, you can only use this card's name's monster effect once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Symphonic Warrior monster from your deck in face up defense position, except for Symphonic Warrior DJs. And if you control Amplifier in your field zone, you can instead special summon one Symphonic Warrior monster from your deck, except for Symphonic Warrior DJs, but its effects are negated. Oh my gosh, Grunt. This thing is extending for days with this new support.
Hmm.
I
Yes,
mean,
it is. So, for those of you who are wondering, the only reason why it is specifically flip summoning is because we have, okay, one second if this would work right. Okay, there we go. We have Symphonic Warrior Synthess, which I didn't include in the presentation, but it's literally a flip effect monster that lets you add a Symphonic Warrior from deck to hand,
mm-hmm.
and you can target a monster you control or in your graveyard whose original name includes Symphonic Warrior, and it essentially becomes that card with its effects, and you can banish it to target a banished Symphonic and special summon it. So essentially, it's just enabling a flip effect. I'm pretty sure none of the other Symphonic Warriors in the archetype have flip
Yeah, I
effects.
don't think
So
so.
it's
Mm-hmm.
so it's just kind of a cute thing. None of them really work on normal summon anyway, so it's just kind of a way to be like, hey, if you want to run synthesizer, you can run him now. So, eh.
Yeah, it's
Otherwise,
good.
yeah,
It's good.
it is.
I mean, there's so many ways to special summon both cards here, and then for that to lead to so much advantage, especially with DJs. Boy, this is great, and the scale is fantastic for both cards. Being a 0 and an 8, you could not ask for a better situation here. If you're a pendulum player and you enjoy this deck, it's good, guys. Ooh, and now we've got a synchro monster for the deck that it's going to be a skill 10 if you need it to be. Oh boy, it just keeps getting better. Okay, so it's a level 7 wind machine, and the pendulum effect, you can use this card's first pendulum effect once per turn. During the standby phase, you can add one pendulum monster from your face up extra deck to your hand. Oh, that's good. That's really good. And then when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can destroy that monster and this card. Fantastic. And then the monster effect, it takes just one tuner plus one or more non-tuner monsters. Oh, so it's really generic. So that is actually really good. You can only use this card's name's first and second monster effects once per turn each. If this card is special summoned, you can add one pendulum monster from your face up extra deck to your hand. And then if you control Simp Amplifier in your field zone, you can destroy one card on the field. If this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect in your monster zone, you can send this card or place it in your pendulum zone. And then we've got a continuous spell, Dress Rehearsal. You can only use this card's second and third effects once per turn each. Each time an effect of a Symphonic Warrior card is activated, place one Symphonic counter on this card when the effect resolves. You can remove 3 Symphonic counters from your field, add one Symphonic Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Oh, we got some Six Sam vibes here. And if you normal or special Symphonic Warrior monsters, you can add one Simplify Amp or Simp Amplify Fire from your deck to your hand. Oh wow, Grunt, this is such good support for the deck.
So, for everyone wondering, Symphonic Amplifier is not a new card. It's been out for essentially as long as the new support came out with Mike's and the other Pendulum way back when it was used as an engine. So, essentially, this deck is trying to force you to run this field spell, which no one was running because they've been using this as an engine. So literally, it's got a similar effect, activate an effect, place a Symphonic counter on it. All Symphonic Warriors gain 100 attack for each counter on it. You remove 5 to inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Symphonic Warrior card on the field. 7, you banish cards your opponent controls up to the number of Symphonic Warrior cards on the field. So,
gosh.
You now have your own archetypal terraforming that also doubles as a once per turn recruiter, which works with Symphonic Warrior cards. So, literally, if you're activating the effect of any Symphonic Warrior Pendulum, which keep in mind you can bounce them to make room to activate more,
Yeah.
it can get out of hand very quickly to give you at least one free search, and then you're probably going to get Amplifier off. So, this makes it a lot better now. I don't know how many people are going to build pure Symphonic Warrior, but it's a lot more feasible now with all the extenders they've gotten.
I like it. It's really good. Okay, so notice we've got anime callbacks here. So we've got Soul Energy Max, and it's a normal trap. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. If you control an Obelisk the Tormentor, whose original attribute is divine, you contribute 2 face-up monsters except the Obelisk the Tormentor, and then destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. And if you do, inflict 4,000 damage to them. Oh, gosh. And then the obelisk attacks for game. Okay, so during the main or battle phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and add one obelisk the tormentor from your deck or graveyard to the hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one obelisk the tormentor face up. Oh wow. And then we have evolution result burst. Looks like Cyber Dragon. You can activate one card with this card's name once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except with spell effects. Also, add one Overload Fusion from your deck to your hand. Also, the maximum number of attacks per battle phase this turn of any monster you fusion summon using 6 or more materials with Overfusion this turn is equal to the number of materials used for its summon. Okay, boy, interesting. Okay, so I like Soul Energy Max more, just because I think there's a lot you could do there, but it would require an awful lot of setup. Grunt, what's your thoughts? Oh, you there, Grunt?
Sorry, I had to mute the mic because of the dogs.
Oh,
Anyway,
you're fine.
didn't realize that. So what I was gonna say is, so Solar Energy Max is definitely a better callback in my opinion. Obelisk is Obelisk. I mean, before someone asks, the only reason why it's saying original attribute is divine, they don't want you taking a monster, changing its name to Obelisk, and abusing this with it. So
Uh-huh.
this just makes sure that you're only summoning the actual obelisk, which I'm not saying it's amazing, but it's easier to summon obelisk now than it used to be, especially now that we got the structure decks last year. And this is fun. This is something you can throw in your obelisk deck. It's not gonna tear apart the tournament, but you can have fun with it. Evolution Result Burst. My only thing that I consider a sin for this card is it's not searchable like other Cyber Dragon
Yeah,
cards.
you can't search it. I thought the same thing.
Like it searches out Overload Fusion, which is pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah,
But I
Overload
mean,
Fusion being searched is great. Yes.
like if anything, this makes it a good card to run. I mean, I don't know. I could see Ancient Gears running this to search out Overload Fusion for Chaos Giant. I could see
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
Cyber
true. Mm-hmm.
Cyber Dragons can run it. I guess the issue is that Verite Anaconda exists, and
Yeah, which is
Verite can
just
always just
better.
pitch the
Yeah.
Overload Fusion. But it's not very restrictive. I mean, end of the turn, just like Verite, you do all your summons, then you activate this, and
Yeah. Well,
it's got uses.
also, looking at Soul Energy Max, the art is just beautiful on this card. You got the Jam card on there and Obelisk getting ready to destroy them. I mean, oh, it looks good. I absolutely
It
like it.
does.
And what's interesting too is the callback, and I think you worded this very well, is that Obelisk's effect is you have to tribute 2 monsters to destroy 1 card on the field, correct?
Nope, it's literally, I'm pretty sure, destroy all cards on the field.
Oh, is it? Oh, maybe it is.
Except for him.
But
It was a
right,
crazy nuke effect or something.
right. But I like it. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. Okay, next we've got the Great Soul. It's a normal trap. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. If a dragon synchro monster is on the field, special summon up to 2 resonator monsters and or level 1 dragon monsters from your deck. When a monster effect is activated, if you control a level 10 or higher dark dragon synchro monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate that effect, and if you do, add one. If you do, one synchro monster you control will gain 2,000 attack until the end of your next turn. And then we've got Dragon King's Legend, which is a quick play spell. You can only use one effect among the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name once per turn, and only once that turn. Target 1 dragon monster you control, double its current attack until the end of this turn. Then, if your opponent controls a dragon monster, the targeted monster effect's activation cannot be negated this turn. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon in defense position 1 of your Dragon Exceeds monsters that is banished or is in the grave. Interesting. Okay, so both cards here seem to have uses, Grunt, but I'm not sure if they're going to be put into at least the trap. I don't know if it's going to be put into people's decks or not, unless it's more casual play. Which one do you think is the more competitive card?
It depends on the situation. I mean, for Great Soul's defense, Red Dragon Archfiend decks will love being able to special summon any 2 resonators from
Yeah.
your deck. So I think Red Dragon Archfiend decks, they're already, in my opinion, not trying to, hate on anyone's favorite deck here.
Right.
I consider Red Dragon at the point still a somewhat casual
Yeah,
deck
it's
just
casual.
because
Absolutely.
so you could fit this in there. You get 2 resonators from your deck. And if you really want to run Majestic Red Dragon, which I don't recommend, you can run some Majestic materials, and this makes summoning the Majestic Dragons a lot easier. That's probably the
Yeah.
one caveat I would add here. Otherwise, let's see here. It's cool that it has the effect, negate the effect, make your monster even bigger. Red Dragon likes that, but you've already got cards in your archetype like Abyss that do that. It's a nice little extra effect. I think the special summoning from deck is good. The quick play spell is cool, but I mean, it's literally just a quick play megamorph that can help with defending and bring back one of your Xyz. It's cool, but it's more of a late game card, so I don't know. I think I like the trap more, honestly.
Yeah. The trap does have uses, but like you said, it is a very casual deck that's going to be playing it unless they get some really good support in the future. What I think I like about Dragon's King Legend is the fact that it can be used in any deck
Any dragon
that
deck,
runs
yeah.
dragons. Yeah, so I do think that there's some definite uh, uses there if you're doing something more on the casual way of doing things. And I also like that it's a quick play, so that's nice to set and kind of
Yeah,
surprise your
quick play's good.
opponent. Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, then we've got Graceful Song Under a Frosty Moon. It's an equip spell. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. Special summon one level 4 lower fairy, spellcaster Wing Beast or Beast Warrior from your hand, and if you do, equip it with this card. Then you can return all dragon monsters on the field to the hand. Ooh, that's interesting. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there while it was face up on in the spell and trap zone this turn, you can add one polymerization spell, one fusion spell, or one fusion parasite from your deck to your hand. And then we have Prisoners of Destiny. It's a continuous trap. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Once per chain, if a Link 4 monster is Link summoned, you can place one counter that's on this card with a maximum of 3. Then you can apply one of these effects, depending on the number of those counters on this card. 1. Declare one card name, and for the rest of the turn, negate the activated effects and effects on the field of cards with that original name if there's 2. Special summon one level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. 3. Send this card to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one Link 4 monster from your extra deck. Oh, wow. Okay, so both are super interesting cards here, Grunt.
Yeah.
If you're facing a dragon deck, I could see Graceful Song Under a Frosty Moon seeing some definite play. What's your thoughts here?
So, for people who are wondering, Graceful Song is an Arc V reference. Instead of having the four dimension dragons, the four girls who were from each dimension, Lunalight, Lyrilusk, Melodious, and Windwitch were all counterparts. And originally in the lore, the original girl from the original dimension that split off into these four activated a card that completely negated dragons and essentially saved the world from Zark. It's a crazy lore. Arc 5 is a mess, but long story short, this is a nice card. You use it with any
Yeah.
fairy deck, any spellcaster, winged beast, beast warrior. I mean, the fact that you can just use it as a generic equip is good. And I mean, the only deck I can think of that really doesn't care about this as much is maybe Lyrilusk and
Mm-hmm.
maybe Windwitch, just because they already have special summoning. But you can use this in other decks too. Counter fairies, I could see may want this
Right.
for extra extension. It's a neat card. I could see this being seeing some decent play in decks like Harpy. Adding a fusion spell, I mean, goes without saying, pretty good in a good amount of these decks. I think it's a lot better because the spell Prisoners of Destiny is cool, but if you're activating this on your opponent's turn and they're the ones summoning all the Link 4s, I would kind of question what's going to save you if they summon 3 Link 4s and you
Yeah.
summon one from your extra deck.
Because Link 4s are pretty powerful. When you think of the Link 4s that we have, they're usually very good.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but it's like, they're not. It's a good card. I think Prisoners of Destiny is interesting. It just doesn't. It seems like one of those cards where you don't really know where to put it because it's just not really needed.
Realistic, yep. And again, I like the idea. This would have been, I think, much better if it had been Link 2s. Because there's plenty of Link 2s that happen in a duel where you're facing a deck that's going to link in order to get everything going. Link 4s just seems so unrealistic to me for this to work the way that they want it to. So it's interesting, but I don't see people using it that much. Okay. Let's move on to Dual Tower Alcatraz. Okay, so it's a field spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. At the start of the battle phase, activate this effect. Each player can reveal one monster from their deck, except a monster with a question mark attack to it, and if they do, banish those monsters face down. The player that revealed the monster with the highest attack can special summon one monster from their hand, and if they do, it can attack directly. Once per turn during the end phase, you can activate this effect. If this card is still on the field during the end phase of your next turn, destroy all cards on the field. Oh, wow. Okay, that's actually I was not too thrilled with the first effect, but that second effect is interesting. And then we've got Duel Academy. I love the throwback here. This looks neat. And then you've got it's a field spell. This card gains these effects based on the types of monsters that are on the field. So if you have Warrior, Beast, or Pyro, once per turn, if you activate a trap card, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Pretty good. Dinosaur, Sea Serpent, Thunder, once per turn, if you activate a spell card, you inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. Oh, wow. Oh, it's a good thing it says once per turn. Okay, Machine Farrier Fiend. Once per turn, if you activate a monster effect, you can target one face-up monster in the field that you control, and it gains 1,000 attack. Oh, man. Okay, so I think I like Dual Tower Alcatraz much better. If I'm playing
Yeah,
Pyro, I could
Duel
see Dual Academy having some uses. Thinking of
Duel
like,
Academy is literally
yeah, go
just a
ahead.
callback. It's literally just a callback. I think Pyro probably would be the best card to use this with because I could see this working with Volcanics.
That's exactly
But
what I was gonna say. Yep, Volcanics was the first thing that came to my mind. Keep
like
going though.
this is probably and someone actually mentioned this, and this is one of the first cards in years that actually mentioned Pyro by name. So funny enough.
Yes.
Or Pyro is the new neglected type after Reptiles.
Yeah.
Alcatraz, it's cool. My only issue is that it has to be during the end phase of your next turn, which means
Yeah.
that unless you have some recurability, you're leaving your field open if your opponent has any form of comeback. Now, I'm assuming if you activate this effect, you're telegraphing that you have a plan. So it's got uses. I think
Yeah.
Alcatraz is better overall because it's not as situational as
Well,
Dual
I
Academy.
like it because it's a board wipe. And so if you're facing Mystic Mine, this is a way to handle that if you don't have an out. So obviously, I would say Cosmic Cyclone is much better to deal with, without a doubt. But if you're facing a deck that's using Mystic Mine, and it's more than likely going to be like either stall or it's going to be burn. And if you're facing a burn deck, they're relying a ton on traps as well and spells.
I could see a gimmick with Alcatraz where you're gonna reveal something big, banish it, and literally you're just special summoning something to really do some damage to your opponent. Maybe take advantage that it's a direct attack, and
Uh
I
huh.
don't know. There's gonna be some situational use for this in the future, I'm sure, just because it's a lot easier for you to guarantee you have a big main deck monster than your opponent these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nope. Makes sense to me. Makes sense. Okay. Next, we've got Ready Set Duel, which is a continuous spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. When this card resolves, if you control no other cards, you can add one Synchron monster from your deck to your hand. That's pretty good. Once per turn during your standby phase, place one signal counter on this card. You can remove two signal counters from your field and send this face up card to the grave. You get to draw two cards, then send one card from your hand to the graveyard. And then you have Overlay Network, also a continuous spell. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can activate one of these effects. Target one face-up monster you control that has level, then special summon one monster with the same level from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Its effects are negated. But you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except for Xyz monsters. And then target one Xyz monster you control, add one card attached to that card's owner's hand. Hmm, Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, so what do you like here, Grunt, or what do you not like?
So, Ready Set Duel has a very funny interaction with an old school card that people have laughed at, and that's Signal Warrior.
Uh
So,
huh.
Signal Warrior literally was a synchro version of Yusei's Duel Runner. That during the standby phase, you place a signal counter on each face up card in the field and on itself, and then while it has a signal counter, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Once per
Right.
turn, you can remove one. You can remove 4, 7, or 10 signal counters from anywhere on the field to either 4, inflict damage to your opponent, 800, 7, you draw a card, 10, non-targeting, destroy one card. So Ready Set Duel with Signal Warrior essentially can turn into a one turn draw two if you wait during the standby phase. And I guess that's kind of the idea here is maybe they want you to run Signal Warrior to speed things up. Um,
Yeah.
so it's neat. I like the idea behind it. You could make a dedicated build around it.
Yeah.
Overlay
Mm-hmm.
Network. Overlay Network is probably one of the better cards we've seen so far, just because it gives you a generic way to extend. Sure, you're locked into Xyz monsters, but it's also for the rest of this turn. And I like reading rest of this turn because
Yes.
it means you can use it as a last ditch extender, which, hey, some decks like that.
Oh,
And,
absolutely. That way you're
and
not locked out the whole time from just that. Absolutely.
well, and there's some recurability. I mean, the fact that you can target an Xyz you control, add a card attached to it to that card's owner's hand. I mean, not saying it will always happen, but it's like, hey, if I'm running a rank 3 deck like Burning Abyss,
Mm-hmm.
or not even Burning Abyss, but like if I'm running a deck that's going to summon a bunch of rank 3s, or if I'm going to summon something that's rank 4, some hand traps look at that level, and you could literally add a hand trap back to your hand. It's situational, but again, this is everything that sees extending card needed. So I think Overlay Network's pretty. I think it's the better one of the two.
I agree. I agree with that. I do think, like you said, the fact that if you need to extend one more time, knowing you're going to be locked into Xyz, it totally makes sense. Okay, the next one we have here, it's a continuous spell as well. It's Battle Royale mode, and activating this card by targeting one effect monster on the field. The first two times that that target would be destroyed by a battle each turn, it is not destroyed. When that target is destroyed by a battle, the player that destroyed it gains 2,000 life points. If the turn player's opponent takes battle or effect damage, they can apply this effect. Special summon one level 4 lower monster from your hand or deck, and if you do, lose 2,000 life points. Oh, this is a disaster for people who don't want to face anti-meta. And if you're anti-meta, you love this card. Oh my goodness, this is very interesting. Okay, into the Vrains, it's a normal spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Special summon one monster from your hand. Its effects are negated. Then immediately after this effect resolves, link summon using that monster you control. This link summon cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate card or effects when a monster is link summoned this way. Oh, that's really interesting. And then if a link summon or summon monsters you control is destroyed by card, battle, or card effect, while this card's in your grave, you can banish this card and add one monster with the same original type as that monster from your graveyard to your hand. Now, Grunt, I'll explain why I think Battle Royal mode here is really good. So the first two times that a target would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed. I am picturing somebody playing something like Fossil Dyna, or they've got the Spirulus card. I can't remember what that is, Jojin or something like that. And so,
Dojin, barrier
yes,
statues.
they can't destroy the card. So unless they have a dark hole or a Geki or some sort of removal, this helps them tremendously to stall. And then after it gets destroyed, notice that you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your deck. And if you do, you lose 2,000 life points, but you're fine doing that because more than likely you're just going to get another one of those anti meta cards out that's really going to slow down your opponent being able to play. This is a really interesting card. Very, very, very interesting to me. What are your thoughts on both?
Okay, so joining or battle royal mode is definitely interesting. Again, it has uses in stun decks because essentially, if you're running the right card, your opponent won't be able to take advantage of this as easily as you, especially if you're using like wind barrier
Yeah.
statue or anything
Mm-hmm.
else that locks your opponent out. I care more about Into the Rains just because there's a lot of generic
Oh, sure.
applications with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
best example someone's brought up is Magical Muskets. You literally activate this, get a free special summon, and you immediately link summon into your Link 1 Magical Musket without committing a normal summon,
Yeah,
and your
it's
opponent
good.
can't negate it.
And that's what I like is the fact that your opponent can't respond to it. They're not going to be able to negate the summon, which gets you what you need out. It's a good card. I mean, I think it's definitely something, if you're doing a lot of link summoning, that just makes an awful lot of sense to me, especially since the second effect is going to be in the grave, because you're probably going to play this first. It's in the grave. If something happens, you still have a way to get some materials back, so, or resources back. I like it. Both cards definitely have good uses. Okay.
Into the Brains is
Oh, sorry.
literally going to be used in Magical Musket decks and maybe a few other decks with like one card extenders, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Again, both are really interesting. So now we've got Red Eye's Soul. It's a level 7 Dark Dragon monster. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn, and you can only use the third effect once per duel. Oh, that better be pretty good then. Okay, so this card's name becomes Red Eye's Black Dragon while face up on the field or in the grave. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then special summon one Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck, except for Red Eyes Soul. And then quick effect, this is the third one. You can target one Red Eyes Black Dragon in your monster zone and inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Oh, come on. That's not that great. Okay. Then we've got the Bridge of Salvation. It's a normal trap. You can only apply the first and second effects of this card's name each once per duel. Oh, wow. Lots of once per duels with these two. If there are two or more different types among level 10 or higher monsters on the field, shuffle all cards in both players' hands, fields, and graveyards to the deck, except for this card. And then each player draws 5 cards. Oh, wow. Wow, that's nuts. Then you can banish this card from your graveyard and add one Crystal Beast monster and one field spell from your deck to your hand. Ooh, okay, that's actually pretty interesting. Now I understand why it's once per duel. Okay, Grunt, I'm thinking the trap looks much better to me than the Red Eyes card. Your thoughts?
Oh yeah. Red Eye Soul is definitely what some people would say kind of okay, but it's not what the deck wanted at all. So again, Red Eyes don't really care about it. And the trap, you don't even have to resolve it. You could Foolish Burial Goods one copy of it
Yep.
and get the effect off. And here's the thing: there will probably be some stupid gimmicky deck in the future that pulls it off, and suddenly you're fiber jarring your opponent, and you're cracking your knuckles as you use your new hand of 5 cards to OTK
Yeah.
them.
I do like the trap. It's good support for Crystal Beasts. Because, like you said, use Foolish Burial Goods. It's in the grave. You banish it. I mean, there's some uses there if you're playing that deck. The thing is, though, is you can only use it once per duel. That's the part that stinks about it. So more than likely, you're siding this out after game one and then game two and three. It's just not even there, right?
Yeah, it's. I've seen people saying like, "Oh, I want to pitch this somehow. I want to get the effects off." It's a good card. The issue again being once per duel is that it can
Yes.
get foggy and it can kill some of your cards that you like. Do you want to run 3 Foolish Burial Goods if it's your only target? Probably not.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, I could see in game one if you get it off. If you don't, you keep it in for game two. Hopefully you get it off, and then game three, you're more than likely siding out 4 cards. So it's definitely a definite situation players are going to have to prepare for. Okay, and then this will be the final card that we'll talk about for today. It's going to be Return of the Reaper. This is a normal spell. This card is always treated as an Infernity card. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. You can special summon one of your Infernity monsters that is banished in your hand or that's in your graveyard. Oh, that's really good. If a face-up Infernity monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can set this card to your field. Ooh, Grunt, that's pretty good. I mean, you get the special summon and you get the ability to have recursion. What do you think?
Yeah, and, Infernities are already a good deck. This does a lot for them. I mean, it gives you another summon of your Archfiend or Necromancer to go into the Archfiend.
Yeah.
So I've seen people already playtesting with this. I mean, again, it's literally just a generic way to bring back your Infernities, and that's good. It really helps you with unclogging your hand, and the fact that it's recurable, you can use it the next turn. It gives the deck a little more longevity.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So, guys, that's going to do it for us. I've got some laundry that I need to check on. But yeah, Grunt, thank you again for being here today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We've already gone through a good chunk of this. We've gotten well over halfway through the material out there, so that's good.
Awesome. Well, guys, we'll see you next time.